Hello, everyone. This is The Burning Question. My name is Peter. I've got the pleasure of welcoming to the show Andreas Hoelzl of Carbon Future. Thank you for joining us on the show. Andreas, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your role at Carbon Future, and what you guys are doing right now?
Yeah, hi Peter. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to have this interview with you. So I'm a co-founder of Carbon Future. Carbon Future is a company based in Germany. Our focus is to help reverse climate change. How do we do this? We want to offer climate credits that are based on carbon sinks. So we're trying to offer all the services around it, meaning a platform that does accounting, that has the right protocols in place. So basically a platform where you can buy these carbon credits as a product and then whatever, offset things, go carbon negative, go climate positive. That's what we're doing at Carbon Future. So how did I get to Carbon Future? How did Carbon Future start? We're relatively new, so things started last year when a couple of colleagues and friends got together, actually in Germany, and since I have still some strong connections to them, they looped me in immediately. And throughout the year, we were experimenting with our idea of vending these carbon credits or defining them. And then actually earlier this year, we founded the company. Mid-year, we got some pre-seed funding. Now we have already 3 people working full-time for the company. So we're going full force, and certainly we have an ambitious growth plan. Currently, we're focusing on the European market, but since I'm here in California, which is great, I'm certainly trying to drive the US market as much as possible and see how we can connect there.
Awesome. So negative emissions carbon sequestration platform. What are the, obviously I know about you because of biochar. You've come up in conversations around that, but are you guys, from a platform perspective, focusing on biochar or doing biochar exclusively, or is it one of a variety of things that you'll be working on?
Yeah, great question. I didn't mention biochar yet, but this is certainly a key focus for us right now. When you think about carbon sequestration, there are many approaches around. The question is what are the most promising ones, and also which the most feasible ones, and also potentially which approaches have good side benefits. Yeah, and so there's only not even a handful of approaches here. So basically our research showed that there is certainly soil amendment or storing carbon in soil through agricultural practices is one promising approach. Reforestation, another one, and the third big one is biochar. And if you look at all these different methods, to us, biochar was at this point is the most promising one. It's easy to quantify. It's relatively stable with respect to monitoring. It has all these nice side benefits for agriculture and for applications, and it can certainly scale. So you're right. Our platform is certainly defined in a way that we can support any protocol, any method going forward, and we certainly intend to build upon on that. But we need to start with something, and biochar is really a prime candidate for carbon sequestration. And
yeah, you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
Well, so that's exciting. So you guys are just getting off the ground now. Where's the platform? You showed me a little bit of like what looked like early stages live platform. Are you guys selling carbon credits now? If so, what kind of volume are you doing?
Yeah, we do. Yes. If you go to carbonfuture.earth, you can balance your CO2. So
Okay, cool.
we are live with our platform. We have a couple of portfolios live. We are offering to our customers. A portfolio to us is basically comprises certificates of a carbon sink. So underneath you have a biochar producer and a farmer who is applying the biochar to the ground. And we certify this. We have the documentation in place. We have the certificates, and bringing this all together, this comprises a carbon credit, and that's what we're offering via these portfolios. So they're live. You can actually buy them and offset, which is great. And we already, I think we sold our first portfolio. We are aiming to fill the second one. We're really getting some traction. It's still a little bit low volume because we need to bootstrap things, and as you can imagine, there's quite a lot of work to be done with certification, with accounting. We're building this platform on blockchain technology. So right now we are at a little bit north of 200 tons of CO2
per what period of time?
Sorry?
Over what period of time?
Yeah, great question. So that's actually one important aspect of our platform. We focus on permanence. Yeah. Okay. So it's not just we're pulling these 200 tons out of the atmosphere for, let's say, the next 10 years. No, our ambition is, and our guarantee is to pull it out for 100 years.
Okay.
Yeah. And so we might wonder, okay, how can we guarantee this? It highly depends on the application method. Putting it into soil is a super stable way of applying biochar, and it's carbon preserving. There's been research being done on that the degradation rate is very minimal. And in our platform, we are accounting for this. So our belief is that no sink is truly forever. So you need to be very well aware about how does a sink evolve over time? How much carbon will be stored, let's say 50 years in, 100 years in, and we are only selling we're only selling the ton of carbon that is preserved over 100 years of time.
Interesting. So this actually, maybe this is a little bit kind of starting to dive into questions about what you're doing with your platform. So why don't we just jump into that stuff? Like, it feels like you're doing a lot of different pieces here, right? So you're both doing you can go online, you can buy an offset, but it sounds like you're also doing verification for producers and verification for, what do you call it when someone does something with the biochar? It's like, what do you call that act? Is that sequestration?
Yeah, good question. So let me give you a quick overview. I touched it briefly, but so it all starts with the producer, the biochar producer. We need to make sure that we account for all for the full process. So for the transportation of the material, all the emissions during the pyrolyzation, and so that when we look at the biochar itself, we can say, okay, this might be a ton of biochar, but the sequestration amount is certainly lower because we have to account for all of this. So this is because
they had to drive it around and they had to process it. And so
exactly. On. So we're interested in the net carbon that's being pulled out of the air after you subtract all of these processes where we certainly diminish the amount and where potentially we're leaking some CO2 or driving around. Yeah, you name it. So This is the production side. For that one, we need a production certificate. That's currently covered by the European biochar certificate.
Okay.
Which is
so
also,
you guys don't have people in the field that are going around and this is me approving certificates.
that would sound like a money-making machine, right?
Anything where you do this, you automatically are making money, right?
Exactly. Just put it everywhere. Exactly. So our credibility certainly comes from independent institutes.
Okay.
And our one of our key principles and values is it has to be solid accounting, scientific accounting, and also defensive. We're not trying, whatever carbon credit we're selling you, we want to be as sure as possible that the amount of carbon we put there for the amount of time that is guaranteed. So we're not selling snake oil or there's some ambiguity and they might not hold true in a couple of years time. So this is really key to us to guarantee that. And so we work together with these independent bodies, independent institutes. They basically, we're building on top of their standards and their certification process. They tell us the net amount of carbon we can account for. And as I said, the EBC is our key process for that and certificate, which got extended to the EB-Sync certificate recently.
Oh, cool.
And we take that's the production side. And then for the application side, all we need is from a farmer, basically a guarantee, signing a coupon that they are applying the material in a carbon preserving way. Means they're not burning it, they're not doing some other fancy stuff with it, they're applying it to the soil. And with that,
can they mix it with stuff before they do that? Like, would it be okay if I were to like combine it with manure or something like that?
Yeah, totally. That's because it's the benefit of biochar is it itself has a lot of benefits, but if you basically prime it with nutrients and fertilizer, it's even more powerful and positive for agriculture. So this is totally possible. Actually, to simplify the whole accounting process, we're even comfortable with when you start producing this combined fertilization product. We already say, okay, this is proof enough that we can vend the carbon credits, the climate credits for that product. That you always need to keep a balance, right? We want to really be as scientific and as rigid as possible. On the other hand, it has to work in the market. We're trying to be really careful here, not to err too much on the wrong side, and accountability is really key to us. So
yeah, it sounds like that's kind of core value for you guys is this. I thought it was an interesting word. You chose the word defensive, and I thought that was super interesting, especially after fires in California it's recently come up that a bunch of the offset market in California is going to have to like figure out how they handle that and whether their future estimates of how this kind of stuff is of like, tree life and tree expectancy and all these kinds of things are going to bear out. So it's interesting to hear you play on that, because I think both there's a lot of concern in the market, and I think there's people looking for a really high degree of rigor especially with natural stuff like afforestation, which it feels like, can we deliver this level of rigor?
It is complicated, worst case, you need to do a lot of monitoring, and that's certainly costly and so that's why basically biochar is our poster child for the carbon sinks, and that's what we're currently building on top of that. And there are many more different applications in soil, in building materials, in concrete, in asphalt, essentially. So these are all things we're exploring.
Cool. So back to just like a super basics. So it sounds like you said you've done about 200 tons. That's CO2 equivalent, right? Up until now. Like going forward, is this like a crazy exponential curve, or how does this work? Because there's lots of pieces in the market, and then also while you're thinking about that, maybe also giving an idea of what the prices that you're seeing are, and where it's is it moving around a lot? Is it pretty stable? How does it work?
Yeah, great question. So Yes, we're basically at the beginning right now. So according to our business plan and in general our plan for this year, our goal was to prove the concept, the platform, the certification process, and basically end to end the vending of these credits, which we accomplished. And we have not just one source of biochar, but actually already a few of them. So we're not just it's not just a one-off pilot, but we really proven that this is a path forward. Certainly, we're now shifting towards scaling, and that means looking for other markets. And certainly, there's biochar producers. There's only a handful worldwide, right? And they're dispersed. So we're trying to reach out to all of them and work with them and also get them to scale. So I think by end of the year, we certainly will be north of 500 tons or even 1,000 tons. It depends what other certifications will land in time, and we can move forward. Certainly, we have a pipeline that's filled with short-term candidates. I think long term, it's all about bootstrapping the market on both sides, right? So establishing a methodology, get some traction, see that it's working, and then if people start seeing the benefit and the viability of this approach, I think it is at that point, which we hope we will reach sometime next year. We're certainly more ambitious, and we want to plan more bigger projects and global projects where we would really team up with pyrolysis plant manufacturers, with agriculture, and also with big balancers, so that we pretty much have the backing on both sides, guarantees, and can move forward with that. I think this would really help. That would be a leap in what we're doing right now. It's really establishing the market, the methodology, and already creating some revenue, which is great. But the leap will come from these bigger projects where we really team up across with all the players in the value chain. That's our plan, and hopefully, I mean, I'm not saying it will be exponential, but
well, I mean, kind of, we're all hoping it is, because we need it to
yes.
be maybe not forever. And I think like I encounter people who are skeptical of biochar generally, and are raise things like, well, you don't want people running around cutting down old growth forests to pyrolyze them. And I don't think anyone's advocating for that. So there is a limit to the growth curve there, but I think we're pretty far off from the top.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good point. Yeah, we're very mindful about the feedstock. So whatever we pyrolyze, that should be sustainable. And yeah, it's as you said, cutting down any forests or tapping into natural resources that shouldn't be tapped into. That's a no go. But the other question was around pricing. So we basically ended up at a price point of 100 euros per ton and 100 years. That's
okay, so 100 tons. 100 euros per ton CO2 equivalent over 100 years.
Yes, exactly. Storing 1 ton of CO2 equivalent over 100 years, that's worth 100 euros. We currently believe in. We derived it by comparing ourselves with other offerings in the market, and also looking into specifically into the offset market, and then extrapolating over time. This is what we're currently working on. It's certainly it's a higher price point, but it's if you look at the product itself, this is the true thing to do, right? You don't want to just store it for 10 years and just want to give someone a good feeling that they've done something, and on their balance sheet it looks great, and they have a label and a sticker, hey, I'm carbon neutral. No, it actually has to go beyond it. So we truly believe that it has to be a permanent storage, and I think most of the the players in the market actually agree with that, but it's actually hard to accomplish.
It sounds like you built a pretty rigorous platform, but it does sound hard.
Yes, yeah. So as always, we will see what the market will tell us in more detail. We already have good feedback, but it will evolve. And certainly, if there's a way we can drive down the price in some meaningful way, we're certainly all up for that. And the key thing is also to mention when you talk about the price you're paying for this sequestration. Our key goal is that everyone in the value chain is benefiting from that, right?
Okay.
It's not it's the $100 is not what we will it's our revenue, but it's really we're passing on a significant part to the producer and also to the farmer. So
do you organize that payment and structure that agreement? I imagine that is a negotiated thing.
We do facilitate that.
Okay.
Yeah, in the end, it is it is complex. I mean, who's buying the biochar with the certificate and who's applying it? They need to play together, right? Otherwise, it's it's not just the farmer, it's not just the producer. They need to agree on this and work together. Because if the producer doesn't have a certificate and the farmer doesn't do preserving application of biochar, there's no gain in that. Yes, so we're helping moderating that, but it's actually working pretty well right now. And the good thing is everyone is benefiting in this economy, and this is really important. I mean, we really need to create revenue for farmers. We need to bring down the price point of biochar to make it more applicable. And certainly on our side, we need to earn enough so we are a viable company and we can scale and we can build this out. That's
I think one
to emphasize.
That makes sense. And I think one point for people that perhaps haven't been thinking about this as much as you and I have, when you talk about field, spreading something in the field, and I came across this, what you're talking about is spreading it in a way that would be too expensive to recover. So if you spread it on the ground, if you had all of your biochar in a big pile, in many ways like coal or oil, if it's concentrated, there's an incentive for people to come get it and maybe burn it. If for example, incentives change or ownerships change, or et cetera, et cetera. You want to prevent that. If you have a farm, if you spread it on the field, essentially once you spread it on the field, you kind of can't get it out because you can't go around like pick up all the, there's no way to get it out.
Economically reasonable, and it does make sense in the first place, but
so in any case, I know that you know that. I'm just for larger context for the people that aren't thinking about all this stuff all the time, but to me, that was like, oh, right. Yeah. I suppose if you just put in a pile someplace, at some point, someone could be like, great, I really need to be warm right now. I'm going to go take this. Okay. So I think, why don't we try to wrap up here? I think the things that I'd love to hear about are like, things that are growing really well, things that are current challenges, and then kind of like, what's the big next step for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, what's going well is the collaboration with all players in that domain. Everyone is really highly interested, pushing this forward. Being it producers, farmers, certifiers, also balances are going to starting to see the uniqueness and the key benefit of biochar, what we're offering. So I think it's good that there's an opportunity here, and also what went well is basically establishing the platform to the level where we are right now, that we have a viable product. We're selling credits and we're having supply and balances. As I mentioned earlier, the key thing now is scaling. So we have all the key players here. So how do we spread this? And again, I mentioned the complexity of the value chain. That means everyone needs to scale in this chain. It's not just you can just whatever have specific partnerships with biochar producers. No, you also need to think about applications and also scale the certification process, etc., etc. So we're working on all on this in parallel, and we're certainly looking for strong partners to partner with who can help us covering some of these aspects and make our all lives easier in bootstrapping this economy. So I think overall things are going pretty well. Scale is the next thing. It will be a question of time until we smoothed out some more of our processes and have some bigger players on the platform. And then at some point when we reach that critical level, I think at some point we'll be just a self-propelling engine, hopefully.
Yeah.
which will then scale exponentially and really have an impact on climate and also for farmers and other application types. So yeah.
Great. And then what's next for you? What's the next big step that like is on the foreseeable future where we might be able to say like, you know, like Andreas, like give us the update. We're excited. When's the next thing that happens for you?
Well, we have lots of milestones in our pipeline. I think you ask for a big one is certainly establishing a partnership with a bigger balancer and getting a commitment on that side. I mean, you've seen it in the news now. All major companies coming up with a carbon neutral plan by 2030, 2035.
I've definitely seen that, and that's like, you know, for people that aren't as deeply involved in this, it's like people like Stripe, Shopify, you know, Amazon, Microsoft, etc.
Exactly.
Is the same thing happening? Because it feels to me at least like a cultural thing. Is the same thing happening in Germany, and is it happening now, or did it happen before? About to happen?
I think there's certainly in general, I think in Europe there's more consciousness about environmental impact and climate change. So you have that in the background already in society and companies. Everyone is, I think that some of them started earlier considering that. So you have an ecosystem of companies who are pushing that. I would say these big statements like Microsoft, Stripe. I think personally I see the US is in the lead for that. Like really making bold statements and that's really promising. And there's some major companies in Germany who are pushing for that. Bosch, like a major manufacturer for the automotive industry, they have a likewise plan. So I think it's hard to tell who's in the lead. I like any company that's bold in that direction and comes up with a plan and is a potential partner for us. I think and establishing a partnership like that would be really, really great going forward. So while this is a goal, we're certainly also trying to balance it with more local producers and not forget about this market, but certainly scale will happen with these bigger commitments for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, great. Well, awesome. I don't have any more questions. Do you have any either shout outs for your particular product or things you want to pump before we jump off here?
No, thank you. No, really enjoyed the interview. Just for everyone listening, go to carbonfuture.earth. If you want to know more about us, please reach out to us. We're really happy with anyone reaching out, any contact. If you are a biochar producer, if you're interested in applying biochar in farming, if you are a balancer, we're particularly interested in you. Let's get in contact and see how we can move this forward together.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Andreas. I really appreciate the time, and we'll hope to hear from you before long.
Thank you too. Thanks, Peter.
All right. Good luck with your platform.
Thank you. Bye.